Let me make one thing crystal clear. If they cheated once, they will cheat again. Not because you're not enough, but because they never were. Betrayal is never a mistake. It is a conscious, calculated choice made in moments when you weren't looking, when your guard was down, when you trusted the most. People love to excuse cheating like it's some kind of slip, like someone just tripped and fell into someone else's bed. No, that's not how it works. Cheating is deliberate, it's premeditated, it requires time, energy, deception. It takes ignoring phone calls, lying to your face, deleting messages, covering tracks, and faking smiles. It is not a single bad decision, it's a series of them. That kind of behavior doesn't happen by accident. It's not a stumble, it's a pattern, a mindset. And it's one that cannot exist in the same space as true love. When someone cheats on you, they are not just betraying your relationship, they are betraying the version of yourself that believed in them. The version that stayed up late to talk them through their bad days, that showed up in ways no one else ever did, that made sacrifices quietly with love. Cheating mocks that. It takes your generosity, your openness, your vulnerability and spits on it. And still, after all that, some will dare to say, it was a mistake. No, a mistake is spilling coffee. A mistake is forgetting a birthday. Cheating is a cold-blooded violation of everything sacred between two people. It doesn't happen once by accident. It happens because that person chose themselves over you. Again and again, we need to stop romanticizing the comeback story. Not every love is meant to be salvaged. Not every chapter needs a sequel. Some stories end because the lesson is complete, and the lesson here is that betrayal should never be rewarded. If someone breaks your trust and gets another chance, what they learn is that your boundaries are flexible, that you love them more than you love yourself, that you'll bend until you break. And let me tell you something, love should never require self-abandonment. It should never ask you to sacrifice your dignity in exchange for another empty promise, because that's what cheaters offer. Promises, pretty words, apologies soaked in guilt. But rarely, if ever, do those words turn into real change. You deserve to be with someone who fears losing you, not someone who gambles with your heart. Loyalty isn't a burden. It's the bare minimum. It's the foundation. And when someone cheats, they don't just shake that foundation, they demolish it. No matter how many times they say, it won't happen again, remember this, if they respected you in the first place, it never would have happened to begin with. Love should feel like safety, not suspicion. It should bring peace, not paranoia. And if you have to live in constant fear of being betrayed again, then what are you really rebuilding? A house of cards, something fragile, something doomed. The cruelest part? Most cheaters don't cheat because they're missing something in the relationship. They cheat because something is missing in them. The cruelest part? Most cheaters don't cheat because they're missing something in the relationship. They cheat because something is missing in them. You are not a rehabilitation center for broken people. You are not here to save, fix, or patch up someone who disrespects love. You are not born to become a soft landing for someone who repeatedly chooses chaos over commitment. When someone cheats, what they reveal is not just a crack in your relationship, it's a fracture in their character. And no matter how deeply you care, no matter how hard you try, you cannot force a person to grow if they are comfortable in their dysfunction. You are not their therapist. You are not their second chance wrapped in affection. You are a whole person who deserves someone just as whole in return. Too many people stay with cheaters because they confuse love with responsibility. They start believing it's their job to heal the brokenness in someone else. But let me be clear, you didn't break them. Their wounds are not your burden. Their lack of emotional maturity, their impulse to betray, their hunger for validation outside the relationship, that's not on you, that's not yours to carry. Love should never feel like labor. It should never require you to sacrifice your emotional well-being just to keep the peace. You can hold compassion for someone and still walk away. You can recognize their pain without making it your prison. People will tell you Taylor had a rough childhood or never saw healthy relationships growing up. And that may be true, but it doesn't excuse betrayal. Trauma explains behavior, it doesn't justify it. We are all responsible for how we treat others, no matter our past. And let's be real, most of us have been through something, we've all felt pain. But we don't all go around breaking the hearts of the people who love us. Healing is a personal journey, and it is not supposed to be funded by someone else's unconditional forgiveness. You can support someone's growth from a distance. You can love them from afar without making yourself collateral damage. The idea that you have to stand by someone no matter what is toxic, especially when one front includes deception, disrespect, and deep emotional harm. Loyalty doesn't mean tolerating abuse. Loyalty doesn't mean abandoning your standards. There's a big difference between commitment and self-sacrifice. And when someone cheats, they've already abandoned their commitment. So why are you still holding on to yours? Why are you the only one doing the emotional heavy lifting in a relationship that they already walked away from the moment they chose someone else over you? That's not strength. That's survival mode. And you deserve so much more than that. Some people mistake staying with a cheater as bravery. They think it's resilience. They tell themselves, I'm giving this person another chance because I believe in love. But giving chance after chance to someone who continues to disregard your worth isn't brave, it's brutal. To your self-esteem, to your identity, to your peace. Every time you choose to stay with someone who has violated your trust, you chip away at the part of you that believes in healthy love, the part of you that still knows what you deserve. And eventually, if you're not careful, you'll start normalizing pain. You'll start convincing yourself that this is what love looks like, that betrayal is just part of the package. But it's not. And it never was. The truth is, people who cheat and come back usually don't come back changed. They come back comfortable. They come back because they know you'll say yes, because you've said yes before, because they're not done taking from you yet. That's the harsh part no one wants to say out loud. Most cheaters don't return because they've had some spiritual awakening. They return because the other option didn't work out. Because you are the soft place they land when the thrill is over. Love should never feel like a battlefield in your own mind. If you're constantly questioning your sanity, your worth, your place in someone's life, that's not love. That's survival. That's emotional exhaustion dressed up as devotion. When someone cheats on you, they don't just betray your heart, they contaminate your peace. They plant seeds of doubt that grow like vines, wrapping around your confidence, choking your ability to trust. Every time they say, I love you, your mind goes to who else they said it to. Every silence feels suspicious. Every smile feels staged. This isn't love, it's a slow erosion of your spirit. And the longer you stay, the deeper the damage. Real love should feel like clarity, not confusion. It should anchor you, not send you adrift. You shouldn't have to play detective in your own relationship, scrolling through texts, analyzing tone, reading between every line, trying to decode their next lie. That's not romance, it's emotional warfare, and you weren't built to live in a constant state of hypervigilance. You deserve a love that brings you stillness, a love where your heart can rest, where trust is the air you breathe, not something you have to chase. If your relationship feels like a mental maze of what-ifs and red flags, then it's time to stop asking, what more can I do? And start asking, Kate, why am I still here? People will try to convince you that what you had was passion, that the highs and lows, the jealousy, the obsession, the chaos, it's all just part of the ride. But no, that's not passion. That's dysfunction with good lighting. That's trauma bonding. That's the addictive cycle of hurt and healing that keeps you locked in place. Passion doesn't destroy your self-worth. Passion doesn't leave you crying on bathroom floors, questioning if you're the problem. True passion builds you up. You deserve a love that feels like home, not a war zone. A love that doesn't ask you to abandon your boundaries for the sake of keeping the peace. You shouldn't have to fight for honesty. You shouldn't have to question your own reality just to keep someone close. You shouldn't have to convince someone to treat you right. That's not love. That's emotional bargaining. That's choosing crumbs over the full meal because you've forgotten how full real love is supposed to make you feel. You deserve a partner, not a project. Someone who shows up with consistency, not chaos. Someone who builds with you, not someone who constantly leaves you picking up the pieces alone. When you choose to walk away from someone who betrayed you, you're not just ending a relationship. You're reclaiming your peace, your clarity, your power. You're choosing a new standard. You're making a decision that says, money will no longer normalize disrespect just to avoid being alone. That's not loneliness, that's liberation. There is so much strength in saying no. No to confusion, no to betrayal, no to being the only one fighting for a love that already died the moment they chose someone else over you. Walking away is not a loss, it's a return to your worth, a return to your intuition, a return to peace. And peace will always be more powerful than passion that comes dressed in pain. Too many people stay with cheaters because they confuse love with responsibility. They start believing it's their job to heal the brokenness in someone else. But let me be clear, you didn't break them. Their wounds are not your burden. People will tell you they had a rough childhood, or they never saw healthy relationships growing up. And that may be true, but it doesn't excuse betrayal. Trauma explains behavior, it doesn't justify it. We are all responsible for how we treat others, no matter our past. And let's be real, most of us have been through something. We've all felt pain, but we don't all go around breaking the hearts of the people who love us. Healing is a personal journey, and it is not supposed to be funded by someone else's unconditional forgiveness. You can support someone's growth from a distance. You can love them from afar without making yourself collateral damage. The idea that you have to stand by someone no matter what is toxic, especially when what includes deception, disrespect, and deep emotional harm. Loyalty doesn't mean tolerating abuse. Loyalty doesn't mean abandoning your standards. There's a big difference between commitment and self-sacrifice. And when someone cheats, they've already abandoned their commitment. So if you're standing at that crossroads, torn between the history you shared and the future you deserve, choose yourself. Not the illusion, not the apology, not the empty promises dressed in desperation. Choose yourself, because the moment you stop settling for half love, for temporary fixes, for recycled lies, that's the moment your real life begins. A life where your heart is protected, your peace is prioritized, and your love is met with the same loyalty you give so freely. Never get back with a cheater, not because you're bitter, but because you finally remember who you are, whole, worthy, and never again available for betrayal.